For weeks, it looked like the Knicks had hit a ceiling. Their offense kept running into a wall, the same wall, over and over again, and the blueprint for stopping them was out there for everyone to see. A sagging paint defense, a few well-timed switches, and the right weak link left open on the perimeter. That was enough to grind their rhythm to a halt. It wasn't just a tactical hiccup, it was a problem that threatened to undo their entire playoff run. But then, something shifted. Quietly, without the spotlight, New York made a few key adjustments that changed everything. And just like that, their biggest weakness turned into a hidden strength. Let's talk about how they did it. To understand what the Knicks solved, you've got to understand what was breaking them in the first place. At the center of it all, their half-court offense, more specifically, how easily elite defenses were able to neutralize it by targeting Josh Hart. It started with the Celtics. They weren't just ignoring Hart on the perimeter, they were weaponizing his presence. Anytime he was off the ball, Boston would stick a big on him, usually Horford or Porzingis, and tell them to camp the paint. No closeouts, no rotations, just sit under the rim and dare him to shoot. And that created a logjam. Every time Brunson came off a screen, there was a body waiting. Every drive into the lane ended in a wall of arms. And when Hart did get the ball, it either led to a missed jumper, a rushed pass, or a turnover. It wasn't just Hart either. The ripple effect of Boston's strategy was brutal. Without spacing, guys like OG and Cat couldn't get clean touches. Mitch became invisible in the dunker spot. Even Brunson, arguably the best isolation scorer in the league right now, looked mortal trying to create in that kind of traffic. In Game 3, it hit a low point. New York only managed 93 points. The paint was closed. The threes weren't falling. And Hart, despite playing heavy minutes, looked like a liability. If anything was going to derail this team's postseason, this was it. But the coaching staff didn't panic. They adapted. Game 4 opened with a completely different energy and, more importantly, a completely different use of Josh Hart. Instead of sticking him in the corner and hoping the defense respected his jumper, they made him active. Every possession had a purpose. On the very first play, he's involved in an empty corner pick and roll with Brunson. That clears the baseline and pulls his defender into the action, meaning no one is just standing around anymore. Second time down, Hart is handling the ball, initiating the offense. They run a down screen for Brunson, which draws a switch and creates a mismatch. It's subtle, but it matters. The Celtics can't just ignore Hart if he's the one triggering the play. They kept going back to this. Sometimes he was the screener. Sometimes the ball handler. Sometimes he'd run the initial action just to slip into a flare screen. The common thread was movement. Every time Hart moved, it forced Boston to respond. That response, even just a split-second hesitation, was all the Knicks needed to open something up. Suddenly, OG is getting clean looks. Mail is walking into open threes. And most importantly, Brunson has space. Because the Celtics still wanted to keep their bigs in drop coverage, it only took a single screen from Hart to get Brunson downhill. When the help rotated, it opened the kickout. When they didn't rotate, it was an automatic mid-range pull-up. And the thing about Brunson is, once he finds that rhythm, it's over. This is where things got scary for Boston. They couldn't go back to ignoring Hart because now he was creating offense without scoring. And when they tried switching, Brunson just picked on mismatches. There was no clean coverage, no perfect answer. Everything was a trade-off, and the Knicks were ready for all of it. One of the cleverest tweaks came when Brunson slowed things down. Normally, isolation sets start with Hart, in the corner, the easiest spot to help off of. But now, they'd move him to the top of the key. That way, when Porzingis or Tatum wanted to help in the paint, it meant leaving the center of the floor open, a much more dangerous gamble. All of this came together in that third quarter. The Knicks ran the same five-man unit the entire time. Hart stayed on the floor, despite his low box score impact. Brunson went 7 for 11 in the frame. OG got his rhythm back. Cat hit big shots. It was a 25-minute stretch where the offense looked completely solved. And it all started with how they used Hart. And just in case anyone thought this was a one-game thing, the fourth quarter gave us something different. Hart picked up his fifth foul early. That meant he sat, and New York had to go back to a more traditional lineup with McBride and Robinson. And guess what? That worked too. With 4 shooters on the floor and a true rim threat in Mitch, the Knicks unlocked a completely different play style, one that emphasized spacing, quick reads, and high pick-and-roll execution. Mail stepped up as a ball handler. OG hit from everywhere. And Brunson? Well, Brunson kept being Brunson. And that's the key here. Solving their biggest problem wasn't just about helping one player. It was about building an offense with multiple answers. When Hart was on the floor, they turned his perceived weakness into a strength. When he wasn't, they leaned into spacing and dynamic guard play. Either way, they had solutions. And now, they're just one win away from the conference finals, a place they haven't seen in 25 years.